Hello. So I'm going to talk about my year in physics, um, electromagnetism. Um, so a little summary of what I'm going to go over today. Um, I'm going to tell you about what the grade I worked for in this class is. I'm going to tell you why through weekly summaries, discussions, projects, homework, the works, and I'm going to talk about challenges I've had while pursuing this grade, um, with a focus in like the discussion portions. I'm going to talk about my cultural science project that I did this year, as well as the daily assignments through the use of packets and such like that. I'm going to talk about the neat resources that I posted, and I'm going to briefly go over the controversial debate. So the grade that I think I worked for in this class would be a B. I satisfied all the requirements for a B while pursuing this class. I did have to go back and just make sure that I did satisfy them, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is weekly summaries. I did all the weekly summaries, of course, and I have them all right here. This is my first weekly summary through Evernote, and I thought it was really cool how you had us choose or had us do different resources to create our weekly summaries. This made us more versatile when creating presentations and kind of got us exposed to a lot of different things in a short amount of time. So I thought that was really cool. So this was their weekly summary for this one. I like to journal, so I kind of liked Evernote quite a bit. I had been using it before. We did the tape lab this week, which was really cool, and we learned about charges, and it was a very good intro project and stuff like that. And this was the week 2 with the Prezi. I really liked Prezi. I had never used it before. It was really cool, and I'm not going to go through everything in here, but yeah, this is when we did the whiteboards, and we talked about the tape lab in more detail, and you had us write out the charges on the different tapes and the repelling and the attracting, which is really cool to see. And then this one was the infographic, I believe, or a poster, and so this was really cool. Yeah, we did Arduinos. That was really cool. I had taken circuits before, so it was really cool to see this, and I really didn't think that we were going to actually be working on Arduinos and circuitry in this much detail, but it was really cool that we did. And we did some more electrophorus things and stuff like that. And this was our screencast, which I'm doing now, which is kind of cool. And this is you modeling gravitational pull with this is you modeling attraction in the form of planets and stuff like that on a blanket. And we came to class and we did some more Arduinos this week. Some more Arduino things and Pinterest, which was really cool. I never used Pinterest to make a summary before, and that was cool. And this was our first interview too, which is really cool. I like the way that you do interviews. I had been so used to doing tests and stuff like that it was a lot easier to try to explain myself in person than trying to write it down. And so I thought that was a really cool thing, and I wish a lot of people did that, actually. Then I did another Prezi, followed by 3 more Evernote projects. And this one we did PhET diagrams, which was really cool to see. And we modeled how the electric field lines are going away, and it's very interesting. And we modeled the equipotential at different points and talked about the initial and final states when things are being pulled, and the potential, which one's going to have the more potential because it's going to try to attract, so it's going to take more energy to keep them farther apart, which I had never really thought about. I would think that the two of them that are closer together would have more potential, since they're gonna make a bigger impact. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, that was this week, and I'm not gonna go through all of these, but this was another one where we did more whiteboard things and did more equational things, and you told us how it was easier to model things or write down with the letters and then plug in numbers, which I always found to be quite helpful as well. This was us using the Castle kits and doing a little circuitry with long and short bulbs, and then followed by more and more weekly summaries. So that's going to wrap up the weekly summary portion of this screencast. So next I'm going to talk about challenges including external time spent. So I spent a lot of time on this class through the use of the weekly summaries and the discussion boards and the different things that you had us do with the projects, and it was a lot of out of class time, which I really wasn't expecting, but kind of made do with it. And I also didn't really keep a notebook in this class, which was very interesting to me because I'm used to teachers writing down stuff on the board and me trying to write as fast as possible to actually understand what they're saying, and so I could reference it later. But I found that it was actually easier to take audio since you only lecture for around 15 minutes at a time. That's kind of perfect, so I can just listen to it in the car or before an interview. Or also I can just take pictures of different boards and reference it later. And I kind of, when we're doing our board presentations, I just record that and then I match it up with the pictures later, and it really kind of paints a whole picture of what happened instead of taking a video or writing down notes, which aren't always the clearest because I don't really have neat handwriting, which is a problem. So yeah, I thought that was really, really cool part as well. Cultural science. So I originally thought I was going to go to the Science Museum with Eli and Julio, but I ended up wanting to read a book because I thought I could gain a lot more knowledge from reading a book that I've always wanted to read, which was A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. And this book was amazing. Like it was around 200 and something pages, and I had been reading it for a while, and I really saw how complex physics was. And it wasn't until we did our discussion on string theory, which it kind of brought it all full circle, which I wasn't really expecting because not everyone read that book. So I was really inclined to think more about Stephen Hawking's thoughts and string theory and all of that stuff. So yeah, that was really cool. And then the assignments in class, we did a lot of assignments in class, and David told us, or you told us to bring home our bring home the packets and then bring them back the next day. And I think I did this every single time, and I brought it back completed, except for one time, which was over spring break, which I don't remember. I didn't know the information, and it was really hard to kind of get my head around it. So that was one of them that I kind of brought half completed, which I'm not proud of, but the syllabus said 85%. So I guess that's my 15% of not bringing in. But I'm glad you brought or had us learn more on ourselves, and it kind of made us draw our own conclusions, and instead of having a one-minded way of how the teacher sees it, we got to make connections in our minds to actually explain how different things work. So that was really cool. I'm going to talk about the projects. The projects were a big part of this year, and it was difficult working with a lot of teammates because I live in Tempe, and a lot of them live near the school, and it's not always the easiest thing, but I made it work. So it was really cool to see the diversity in the different projects, and through the use of Arduino or the electrophorus that James did, or the prosthetic arm that John did. It was very cool to see a variety, and the STEAM student showcase was a very, very cool experience because there's a lot of boards and there's a lot of different ideas and from a lot of different classes, which I thought was really cool. And yeah, I think my last project was the favorite, even though that it didn't really work all that well. I think it was very diverse to what I had been doing before, and it was the most involved project that I've done in this class, as opposed to the Arduino or the battery tester that me and Sean created. Yeah, but projects were a big part, and I think I did my part on the projects pretty well, and hopefully my teammates saw that the same. So this class was very applicational through the use of our weekly summaries and our discussion boards and everything. It was just very encompassing in the interview process. We just went through a lot of stuff, and VPython was another thing that we did, which was coding. We did coding on the Arduinos, but we also did coding on VPython and modeled different things, which was really cool to see. And also, I asked a lot of questions in this class because I just really wanted to understand everything. Even though if it was the dumbest question or the smartest question, I really didn't like to leave things in a fuzzy place. And I recorded those questions so I could reference them later. And I really think I did my part to understand the material as well as I could and asking questions as well as I could as well. And through the use of the cultural science, which I wrote 4 pages for, which was only supposed to be 1 page, but I just found the book so intriguing. And the controversial debate, talking about Julio's paper and James's paper, and all of the different things and the discussions and the neat resources. I commented on all of them and commented on everybody's discussion posts. And I actually had to go back and write a couple of the comments in because I realized that I didn't write them after you told me that I didn't comment on all of them. I went back, and surely enough, I didn't. So I went back and did all of those. And it was nice that you had us talking, which was really cool. And the discussions were always very interesting and very applicational, and really gave us a different perspective on education and different string theory. String theory was very interesting. But this was a very, very long year, and I'm very happy that I was in this class, and I got to experience all of the different things that we went through, and all the interviews, the board meetings. It was just a very, very cool year. So what I talked about today was the grade I worked for, which I believe was a B, through not having done the controversial debate and other things that were mentioned on the syllabus, and had some challenges, which I talked about: the cultural science and the daily assignments, neat resources, the projects, the homework, the summaries, everything. But this was a very good year, and I'm very glad I was a part of this class. So thank you, David, and I'll see you on Tuesday.